If you're creating any kind of content, could be a script, a short video, whatever,
Yeah.
and you feel like it's just not landing, this deep dive is for you. Because the problem is, like, almost always the same thing. If you want it to perform better, you just need better storytelling.
And that's really the mission here. We've gone through a ton of sources, specifically this breakdown from a creator with, what, over 1 billion views? And we've boiled it down to 6 core techniques.
And this isn't theory.
No, not at all. This is a shortcut. We're giving you the actual structural, the tonal changes that turn, confusing content into something really compelling.
Exactly. So we're jumping into these 6 techniques that are going to reshape how you write. Forget the generic stuff. We're getting right into it, starting with the very foundation of structure.
Let's do it. So technique 1, this is probably the most critical part of the whole structure.
Technique 1 is called the dance. And it's this idea that any good story, I don't care if it's a huge blockbuster or a 30-second video,
Right.
It's just a constant back and forth between context and conflict.
That's it. You set the scene, that's your context. But then, boom, you have to challenge it with conflict, an obstacle, something that gets in the way.
And there's a reason that works so well, right? There's some psychology behind it.
Oh yeah, it's deep in our wiring. Conflict creates what's called an open loop in your brain. So when you introduce tension, your brain just sees it as this incomplete task, and it needs resolution.
It's like an itch you have to scratch.
It's literally addicting, and the context is just the information that helps you close that loop or, set up the next one.
Which brings us to this amazing piece of advice from Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the guys who created South Park.
Yes, this is so tactical.
They say that between every story beat, every single one, you have to replace the words "and then" with either "but" or "therefore."
And that simple switch changes everything. I mean, think about it. If you use "and then," you're just listing things. I woke up, and then I went to work, and then I got coffee.
It's so passive. Who cares?
Exactly. Nothing is causing the next thing to happen. You lose people instantly.
But if you force yourself to use "but" or "therefore," you're creating momentum. It's this happens, therefore this next logical thing occurs.
But then this new problem shows up. It guarantees you're always moving forward. There's no spot for the viewer to get bored and click away.
The source material had a perfect example of this with a video about the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, a water bottle. You wouldn't think it has a story, but the script had, 4 of these but therefore loops in just the first 30 seconds?
So it started with, Stanley Cups are huge right now. That's the context. But the company is actually about to discontinue them.
Right, there's your first conflict.
But then a small group of mom bloggers stepped in. Therefore, the cups they promoted sold out, and it changed the company's whole philosophy. And then the final twist.
The head fake. But the story got even crazier, which leads to that whole burning car incident. It's just constant structured tension.
It really is the difference between a lecture and, like, a thriller.
You need that tension. And speaking of flow, that brings us to the next point. It's not just the big structure, it's the subconscious stuff.
Technique 2, rhythm. This isn't about what you're saying so much as how it sounds, the pacing, the flow that just hooks the brain.
Yeah. And the writer Gary Provost gave the best advice on this. It's all about sentence variety. If every sentence you write is, say, 8 words long, it becomes monotonous.
Like a drone.
Exactly, like a stuck record. And your brain just picks up on that pattern and wants to find something, anything, less predictable.
So the goal is to create music for the ear. You need short, punchy sentences. You need medium ones to explain things.
And then every once in a while, you need that long sentence. A sentence of considerable length that just burns with energy and builds with the impetus of a crescendo. It lets the listener really sink into an idea before you snap them back.
And there's a super practical way to check your own script for this.
I love this tip.
If you write every sentence on a new line, which you should be doing for scripts anyway, and then you kind of zoom out, your document should look like a jagged edge.
Right. The lines should all end at different places.
If it looks like a block of text where all the lines are about the same length, your writing is monotonous, audibly and visually. So you have to go back in and break it up.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got structure and rhythm down. Let's pivot to how you actually connect with the audience, because the best script in the world won't work if the tone is off.
Which brings us to technique 3. Conversational tone. All the best creators, it doesn't matter what they talk about, they make you feel like you're right there in the room with them.
Yeah, like you're just a couple of friends shooting the shit.
Exactly.
And that tone works because it breaks down this conscious barrier. The viewer stops thinking, what is this person trying to sell me?
And they start feeling like they're just in a conversation.
Yeah, it's intimate. I mean, think of Steve Jobs launching the first iPhone. It wasn't some stiff corporate presentation. He was like a guy showing his friends this incredibly cool thing he found.
That's a great example. And the tactical advice for this is so simple, but it's brilliant. You have to write and film as if you're talking to one specific close friend.
Yes. The source even suggests printing out a picture of that friend and literally taping it next to your camera lens.
I love that.
Because when you write, you're not writing an essay, you're basically typing out a long text message or recording a voice note for that one person.
It forces you to drop the formal lecture voice and just talk like a human. You stop addressing the audience and you start talking to you.
Yeah.
And that warmth, you can't fake that.
Okay, so you have the tone. Now you have to actually plan the story. Which brings us to technique 4, direction. And this one's a little counterintuitive.
This is the one where you say the best place to start writing is at the end.
Exactly. Figure out your last line first and then work backward.
Okay, wait. So if I start with the last line, doesn't that make the middle part feel, I don't know, forced? Like the audience can tell where it's going.
That's a great question, but you're not starting at the end to spoil the plot. You're doing it to make sure the whole journey is worth it. The final line, which the source calls the last dab.
The last dab, okay.
It has to be so memorable that if it's the only thing someone heard, they would want to share it with a friend.
So it's not the resolution, it's more like the ultimate takeaway that makes the whole story worthwhile.
Precisely. And in short-form video, where things loop, that last line is actually the setup for the first line all over again. It's like the 9th batter in baseball setting the table for the top of the lineup.
That makes sense. It's like those Christopher Nolan films, right? Inception or Tenet. Those plots are so complex. He absolutely had to know the exact ending before he could even start building the middle. Otherwise, the whole thing would just fall apart.
The logic is the same, even for a 60-second video. So the tactical move is open your document, write line 1, then skip down and write your powerful last line, and then you fill in that big gap in the middle with the dance.
Okay, so with the structure set, you have to make sure you're talking about something different. Let's get to technique 5, story lenses.
Yes. This is all about cutting through the noise. A cool topic isn't enough anymore because 100 other people are already talking about it.
So you have to be different.
You have to find your story lens. It's your unique angle on a common story. Think of the main story like a beam of white light. Your lens is the prism that turns it into a unique fingerprint of color that nobody else has.
So how do you find that prism? How do you find the angle?
A great way is to stop looking at the main event and instead look at the wake it leaves behind, the secondary impacts that everyone else is ignoring.
The Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl example from the source was perfect for this.
It was. The common lenses were, what did she wear? What were her reactions in the box?
Every media outlet covered that. That was the white light.
But the unique lens this creator chose was the business impact she had on the NFL. They focused on data, the jump in female viewership, the spike in merchandise sales.
The insane amount of media value she generated.
Right. That angle was completely unexpected and super valuable. And that video got over 1 million views because the story lens made it a category of 1.
If you can't be first, you have to be unique.
That's the takeaway. Find the ripple effect.
All right, which brings us to our last one. Technique 6, the hook. Everyone talks about the hook, but it is so crucial.
It really is. Because if you lose them in the first 2 seconds, the other 5 amazing techniques we just covered, they don't matter at all.
So what's the next level advice here, beyond just be fast?
2 things. First, your hook has to be punchy and indicative. The first line needs to grab them, sure, but it also has to tell them what the plot is. So if your video is on gardening, the hook is something like, these are the secret garden techniques the pros use.
So no more of those vague, clickbaity lines like, wait till you see what happened next.
No, never. You're wasting time without proving the value. If you don't confirm the topic in that first line, you're done.
And the second point is where the real power is.
It is. Visual hooks are 10 times more effective than audio hooks. This is just biology. Our eyes process information faster than our ears, so the visual has to do the heavy lifting.
The epic gardening example nails this. Before the creator says a single word, what do you see?
A giant, bright red, perfect strawberry filling the whole screen.
Exactly. That visual instantly confirms the topic, the quality, everything, before your brain has even processed the first word he says. If you like strawberries, you're not going anywhere.
So the instruction is crystal clear. Get to the point and show while you tell. The visual has to back up or even lead the audio.
And that wraps up our deep dive. You basically just got the masterclass in high-performing content. We went from boring lists to real tension by using but and therefore. We talked about ditching the lecture and talking to just one friend.
And crucially, we saw that real differentiation comes from finding that unique story lens, that prism. So you now have 6 really powerful methods you can apply to your very next script. From the big picture, like starting with the end, down to the tiny details, like rhythm and visual hooks.
So here's the final thought to leave you with. We learned that eyes perceive faster than ears hear, which makes that visual hook absolutely paramount. So if visual speed is that important, what aspect of your audio delivery, and I mean beyond just the words and the sentence rhythm, can you manipulate to make sure your audience's ears can actually keep up with their eyes? Think about tension, pitch, maybe even your vocal speed. How can you create that same jagged edge with just your voice? We'll see you on the next deep dive.